Today's video, we're going to look at defending the triple option, specifically the modern triple option, which is the spread RPO game. It's going to differ a little bit from my last video because the last video talked about defending the triple option from the flexbone formation and specifically looking at the veer type play, pretty much the standard of most flexbone teams. We talked a lot about a three-man front and why it's the best in that situation because you're balanced across the front. Your keys remain the same and consistent for most kids, and you can typically handle your option responsibilities in a myriad of ways. But it usually kind of breaks down to the end takes dive, Mike takes quarterback, and then outside backers will help with the pitch. Unless you want to change some type of stunt or front and set something a little bit different to attack the offense. Today, though, we're going to look at a four-man front and different alignments and different things that you can do to attack offenses and change the look that you're giving them. So here we have a doubles formation with the back to the field. We have obviously a bubble outside, inside zone keep. So we've got your dive, your quarterback, and your bubble out here. We're going to look at what are keys and where we set our kids. So the first thing you want to decide in a four-man front is where are you setting your three. Most coaches are going to say set your three to the field, put your shade to the boundary. And the advantage there is you can keep a full cover down with your Sam or nickel if you're a 4-2-5 guy. And he does not have to be apexed and kind of fall back in for a B there. Your apex defender then becomes your boundary outside backer, which is okay because the spacing is a little bit better on that backside. And if he does have to fall into B, he's still it's not as far as a field backer coming back into the B, especially when they're covering down their slot receiver. For our back end, our corner, we play a lot of cloud, so we're a big, heavy two team. Not necessarily two read, but traditional zone two. So we asking them to be outside leveraged here. Our safeties are our deep guys. Corners are going to drive quick on any quick game, which does help in this situation. So with the three to the front again, you've got a lot of good options here. Before we look at that, let's look at the pitch. So something that we tell our outside backers is that, their reads are simple. They're reading the near back. If they get flow two, which Will would be the one that gets the flow two, they're fast. If they get the flow away, which is the same here, they're slow. And that gives them quarterback cutback. And then obviously that tells them pitch as well. We're going to read shoulder as soon as we see that there is no dive. We see the mesh, but ball's on and belly, we're not going to trigger yet. As soon as he pulls, we're obviously going to key the quarterback. If his shoulder turns, and again, we're big shoulder readers, especially our corners and safeties, because our under guys can break on the shoulder now, especially a quick shoulder. And then our deep guys obviously have to wait for the ball to be in the air. But as soon as he sees the shoulder to the quick game, he doesn't have to necessarily worry about what's going on here. He knows that his spot is about 1 or 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And that, doesn't have to mean just a bubble. You look at Fox, it's about the same spot as it would be with a bubble. So again, his eyes don't really have to go right away. We can key the quarterback as soon as he pops his shoulders and up, boom, we're hitting that hip straight to that aiming point. So for our front four, our reads are very simple. They're reading their shade. Any down, we dive spill. Any base, we stay outside. Bite outside, stay outside. This front is a little bit different, and the negative thing that I have seen from this is here you want your end. You don't want him to dive spill, so you're changing the read up on the ends, which some ends can handle it, some can't. But if he punches and sits, that gives the quarterback the give read. And then the quarterback keeps, he now has to maintain that leverage. And that can be tough for some ends to kind of sit squat and then, turn back on and get on the hip. The real question that a lot of, DCs have to decide are who do we want to carry the ball? Which one is the lesser of three Eagles? A lot of spread teams, this is your stud. And then some of the other spread teams, this is your stud and they move that receiver around to get him into space. So if you want to keep the quarterback kind of, in check. This isn't a bad front because he'll sit and squat and give a give read. And then we're pretty solid on the dive as well. And we're pretty solid. I mean, it's a good front across the board. The only thing that I see this front struggling with in experience is really with the quarterback keep. And the reason again is that DN squatting and then restarting to get on the hip can be difficult. And then your scrape from your mic is going to be pretty late because you're in a full cover down here. He's kind of, put into conflict of, do I go or do I fall back in, and kind of get a little bit of a soft edge here. And so show you what the fits would look like here. Again, sit squat. If the quarterback does keep, we get on the hip right away. Sam has to check it and then get to the pitch. The mic scrapes again. He'd be a little bit late. And the wheel obviously has to fold back inside if with any read to him or ball to him. Something that you can do differently is you can put the 3 to the boundary. I like this, except for here you're going to see in a minute. I like to change where my backers are. The disadvantage here is obviously your Sam now has to be apex. He can't be a full cover down because you're weak and strong B here, so he's got to be able to fold back in. Your strong front side, you're covering down with your wheel, which isn't a bad thing, especially on teams that are really good with flopping the read, meaning they look like this is the read side, but he pops up, switches his feet, now looks backside. So if you're, tucked in a little bit, that opens that up. Most teams don't do that, but, if you are facing a team, something to think about to change up on them a little bit. Mike's pretty hard at downhill A, can scrape into B if need be. Again, here are the fits. Probably a little softer on the pitch and definitely a little bit softer on the QB, but you're pretty solid up on quarterback. On the dive. Can be a little soft on cutback. Again, I like, and that's why I like to have them squeeze. The change that I make is I like to slide my mics over to the strong side. And again, now we apex the wheel again, which is not a bad thing being into the boundary. You still are solid up here against the dive, but it keeps the read consistent here. Any type of down block, we dive spill right away. And then Mike can natural gap exchange here. You still have your full cover down. So to me, there's a ton of advantages here that you don't necessarily get when you put your 3 to the field and tuck your mic back to the weak side. And again, same thing. You put your 3 to the boundary and you tuck your mic in on that side. Again, you're weak here. Obviously, the weakness in this front is clearly the weak side A. And that's, a long scrape for him. Definitely going to be late showing up, especially when we play cloud on this side. Safeties are not necessarily, they're going to be your kind of last line of defense here. Corners are, trigger fast, stay outside. Safety will fit late. And then Sam obviously is working inside out on the pitch. You can do some things different here. You can, you can slant the nose or slant the whole front really. And then that allows you, the disadvantage now becomes here, but if he can close it off quick, you're not as bad. The wheel doesn't have to fold inside as hard. He can maintain outside there. You can also pinch, and that keeps the wheel outside, and you're a little bit stronger here. To change it up even more, you can blitz your wheel, change up your coverage in the back end. He walks up late during the cadence, boom, hits the gap. You're going to, gap this tackle inside. Open up that lane there. Obviously, the safety's going to have to roll down kind of mid-sky coverage, almost a buzz coverage, looking straight for number 2. Corner obviously has to stay on 1 and stay deep. You can keep things pretty consistent over here. Something that we really like to do different is called split. And you can do this with your corner to the trip side. So here in doubles, your trip side is this side because you're 1, 2, 3. A lot of times this is done from a press. You can do this from, backed off a little bit. It just takes a little bit longer to get there. It's not as quick. Plus, or you can, keep him at 6, walk him down during the cadence and go. But what he's doing is on the snap, he's hitting 2 right away. I mean, he's driving on 2 hard. Sam can then come over and help out here. Safety's going to be late because we're in cloud coverage there. But you're getting dive spill, gap exchange. A lot of times you can catch, especially if people throwing bubbles, you can catch them either right as they catch it, not, PBU, pass breakup, or pick and go. So something a little bit different that you can change up, and just some ideas there to kind of mess around with and see what different things you may want to do the next time you play the modern triple option, which is the spread RPO game. Leave any comments, questions you have in the bottom. We'll try to get a video out, the next video, as quickly as we can.